Yeah, this year, Mark and I have interviewed almost 200 outdoor business owners. And in all of those interviews, we've tracked what people do well to drive great businesses forwards and what people do that holds them back. And we've come up with 2 ingredients that every outdoor business owner must be obsessed with if they wish to have a successful business by any definition of success. And that is our topic today. As always, I'm joined by my co-founder, my able assistant, my vice president, my rear admiral, anything else we want to call him, Mr. Mark Hopkins. Hoppy, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I love having different job titles all the time now.
That's it. You can have on the bottom of your emails now, you can have this massive list of job titles. Mark Hopkins, a.k.a. the Rear Admiral.
Exactly. The tail gunner.
The tail gunner. So the past couple of conversations we've had and podcasts we've recorded, I've started with a question for you, and I want to start today again with another question. And I suppose the question is, in all of the businesses that you've been involved with in the past and with We Get Outdoors, what do you find is the thing that you can most easily get obsessed by in a business?
I think it's very simple. Customers. It's the again, the interesting thing is with customers, because everyone talks about it, but I think a lot of the shift that I've seen in my career and in businesses is the moment that you make that shift from being obsessed about making money to being obsessed about getting customers in and giving them amazing experience, your business just overnight changes. So customers for me is the one thing that really jumped out.
It's incredible, isn't it? I've in a couple of conversations I've had recently with outdoor business owners, like I've asked the usual question that people would often ask, which is, what's the one thing that can keep you awake at night on occasions? And almost everybody has mentioned money in a format, be it cash flow, be it income, be it debtors, creditors, so on and so forth. And when I probe, I'm like, well, what's the cause of that money issue? Everybody's kind of stops and can't. I don't get very clear answers. But actually, what you just said there is the answer. The answer to every money problem in your business is a lack of customers spending enough money with you on a consistent enough basis. You get that in place. And of course, as long as you've got a product that you sell at a profit, not at a loss, it's a great suggestion for all business owners. Customers are the thing that you need to be obsessed by, because they're the things that it's like customers equal money. So if you want to chase after the money, you actually have to go before the equals sign and go and chase after the thing that brings you the money. And it's interesting because are you finding the same thing as I am, is that people are very proud, rightly so, and very obsessed by their products and services, and actually almost are obsessed by the wrong thing?
So yes and no is the answer. I don't see many businesses proud and obsessed about service. I see most of them very, very proud about products. And you and I had when you have sometimes a conversation which is one of those jaw-dropping conversations where you cannot believe someone actually said what they just said. I had a conversation with someone recently. We were talking about products and leads and campaigns. And this person came out with a phrase which I think I'll remember to the end of my business life, which is, you have to make the product the hero of the story. And at that point, I didn't know if they were taking the bit of goes against absolutely everything that happens in all industries. Like, I was sharing that one yesterday with you, Robert. Remember about iPod? Around what was the strap line around the iPod? And the strap line about the iPod was about thousands of songs in your pocket, which is all about the customer. It's all about being obsessed about what it is that the customer wants from you and trusting that your product solves that problem. So being obsessed with the customer is the only way, and there is no other way. You obsess with your product, all you do is your ego gets bigger and your bank balance gets smaller.
I think that people who set up an outdoor business are definitely in the minority in the world, right? Even in the outdoor world, the people who set up a business are the minority. And it takes a certain sort of person to go and set up an outdoor business. Let's say manufacturing sandals, for argument's sake, just as a thing. And often that person has spent years, and in some cases decades, researching, trialing, testing. They've become obsessed with, in the sandals analogy, the quality and the weight of the foam and the strapping and the clips and the whatever else, and the how strong is the strapping and how can get it as strong as possible for as light as possible, dry as quickly as possible, and what's the foam that doesn't smell after 4 months of use, that sort of stuff. And then what they go and do is go and take that obsession that they've built inside of themselves in building this product that they're proud of, and that's how they go and sell it. But I think the reality is kind of goes back to voting, right? When people vote, 9 out of 10 people never read the full manifesto or policies of the person they're voting for. They actually vote on the fact, usually, I can relate to this person, they're the best of a bad bunch, and I think that they'll do a good job for me. And maybe they're linked to the right party.
Yeah, all my parents voted for that party, therefore I'm going to continue that train of thought.
Exactly. So they're not basing their voting on fact in any way, shape, or form. They're actually basing it all on feeling. And the truth is that people purchase in that way as well. And so unless we can, as a business owner, switch our head to say, this is me, a list of what I like about my business, but actually this is my customer and they're going to buy from me for a different reason. And yes, there's going to be the 1 in 10 person who wants, how many micrograms per 100 grams of this, that, whatever else, the tensile strength of the strap, the fact that you can abseil off your sandal buckles, so on and so forth. Like people, there's going to be 1 in 10 people who care about that.
1 in 1,000.
1 in 1,000. But that means that there's 999 then people out there who'll go and buy a substandard product made in China from somebody who you don't think is your competition, but actually they're taking money off all of those people who should be your customers. And it all comes back to what Mark said at the start. Who's your customer and how are you obsessed by them? So, Mark, how do you become, if this is so important, how do we start to become obsessed by this idea of who's my customer and how can I help them or make it easy for them to do business with me?
So I think that there's 2 parts to that question. I think the first part is when you're going down the manufacturing route or even you're going down the guiding and expedition route, what happens very, very quickly, and this came out of a conversation I had last night as I was interviewing a business owner. Like, we talked through how the idea came about, and he could describe exactly who was there, where they were, what was happening, he literally had the whole story. And as he told me the story, I was there in the moment. I could feel it. I felt like I was part of the story. And I was like, that makes complete sense. You came out with the idea. That's such a cool story. The problem is, as soon as he came back from that moment, he forgot about the story. And he got fixated only on how to turn this problem into a product that he can sell. The first thing for me is you've got to stay connected to your story. Go and write the story down. Go and make a poster of the story that you have in your office as a visual reminder every single day of where the idea came from. Because your idea came from a problem that you needed to have solved. And at that time, no one else could solve it for you. And first and foremost is you've got to keep that feeling and that story front and center of absolutely everything you do.
And if I can jump in there, Mark, because this actually leads on to another thing. If you, let's just say the backpacking gas stove that lights in the rain, like you get, and the story was you got somewhere, it was pouring with rain and nobody could get a fire alight, nobody could get a stove alight. So you decided you were going to make a gas stove that would light in the pouring rain. And that was the problem that you're solving. If you talk about the story in your business of the problem that people face when it's pouring with rain, like, everything gets wet, you can't light the stove, you're cold, so on and so forth. Actually, you've got the opportunity to, as a business, to go and solve all of those problems linked to backpacking and putting up camp in the pouring rain. You as a business, your brand, which means you can start with your stove, but then maybe you can sell the world's smallest, the lightest, biggest umbrella, like adventure sports umbrella, as a secondary sale because it would solve a problem. Maybe you could have, I don't know, amazingly lightweight, waterproof boots you can wear around a campsite when it's 3 inches deep in water. I don't really know what those products are, but you can just keep selling off this one story of you're stuck in camp, you're backpacking and it's pouring with rain, and here's all the problems you face, and here's all our solutions. The problem is then, if you're right, Mark, if you go down the gas stove in the rain and just push the product, what you're doing is saying, all I ever do is sell gas stoves that will light in the rain, which means that when somebody's bought one version of your product, they've got a gas stove that can light in the rain, and it might break in 6 years' time, and they want another one, which will be version 18.4 that you've come up with after you've engineered it to the moon and back. But that means you're getting 2 sales in a 6-year period, where you could actually say, right, gas stove this year, amazingly light waterproof gumboots next year, the world's lightest, biggest umbrella the year after, and actually get 1 or more sales a year just by trading on the story, not on the product.
Boom.
Mic drop. So you said that there was a second part to that question. Can you remember what that was?
Not a Scooby-Doo.
So how do you? So you went out through it, but it was all around how do you become obsessed with your customer?
Oh yeah. So I think first is the story. Remember the story that you're going to tell. And then it builds on a little bit what you're saying is you've got, in order to be obsessed by something, you've got to keep doing it when no one's watching. You've got to keep focused on the journey that you're on when it's bloody boring. We talked about it in one of our previous things about sticking to it. Like, as soon as I finish this, I've got to go and write 3 blogs. And do you know how much I'm looking forward to do that? Not at all. But I know how important it is to being obsessed about the customer because it's giving the customer what they want. So I think to become obsessed, you've got to have a greater purpose to what you're doing. Like, we've got a very clear purpose to what we do and why we do it for Caitlin, Luke, and Seth. And it's and I have that guilt a little bit that if I'm not doing the blogs and stuff like that I'm not sticking true to my legacy. So there's got to be an internal thing that drives you to do it. I think also we get excited like when we get those positive testimonials because we know we're making a difference in people's lives. So another way to get obsessed is to actually get some feedback from your products. It shows you're on the right track and there's people out there using it. I think that's a really cool little tactic to use. And also it's incredible content for websites and social media. And let me pick up the phone and speak to customers. That was the book we just read. Hey, that book we read about, what was it? I can't remember what it was about, but it was a guy who set up a business and sold it ultimately. It wasn't in the adventure sports world. I think it was yoga or something like that. And I think
he personally spoke to his first 2,000 customers. Like, as the business owner, in that first year, he personally spoke to those first 2,000 customers. He actually took that 5 minutes per customer to pick up the phone and say, hey, how's the product? What do you like about it? What do you love about it? And the beauty of what he did is he never defended his product once. He just took that customer's responses and used that as his ammunition, maybe, or maybe as his to-do list to improve his product, be it in the customer experience or in the actual product design and look and feel itself, and how it works. And I don't think that you can call yourself a business owner unless you've got the time to actually speak to your first 1,000 to 2,000 business owners. I'm not saying it's easy, but I don't think you're ever going to have a business unless you can actually find the time, energy, and enthusiasm to go do that and put all of your bias about how much you love your product to one side and actually say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, so pleased you like my product. What are you loving about it so far?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people shitting themselves now, to be honest, because it's a natural thing to want to do to defend your product. And it's a natural thing to do to explain your product. And I think in order to be obsessed with your customers, you have to be obsessed by what they say and do, not by what they don't say and don't do. Does that make sense? Because I think by not saying and not doing, then you're going to fill the gaps with your words and your blinkers and your beliefs. You've literally got to shut up, ask a question and listen.
And that's it. And there's no such thing in my mind as people talk about positive and negative feedback. I don't think it exists. I just think it's all feedback. In fact, I'd actually argue that what you feel is negative feedback is actually the most positive feedback you can ever get, is the biggest gift you can ever get. Your customers saying, I'll buy more from you if this and this is sorted out. Oh, wow. What a gift that is.
Yeah, that word if, great word.
That's it. It is an if, but they're giving you everything you need. Your choices are, am I going to listen to it and pay attention to it and pick it up and follow through on it? Or am I going to ignore it and say, I know more than they do? And on a technical basis, you probably do know more than they do, but on a purchasing basis, you know probably 1% of what they do because you don't buy your own product. I mean, if you love your product, so you go to the warehouse or wherever it is, your shop, you pull one off the shelf and you go use it on your backpacking trip or whatever it is that you may well go and do. You don't actually buy your product. So the barrier to overcoming that is actually to understand that actually you are not an expert at buying your product or selling your product even, really. You actually need to become an expert at listening to the people who do have a credit card and do want to have that problem solved and are willing to spend money to do it.
So, Rob, there's been a few mic drops. There's been a few punches in the face. We've given people a few little hugs as well because we're that kind of nice people. What's next for those people then who have listened to this and gone, Rob, you're talking shit, or Rob, you're making a little bit of sense, or I'm not quite sure I understand it. I need to get a little bit more clarification about what you guys are talking about. What's next?
So, I mean, the first thing, and I say this always, is if you get this and it makes sense to you, the thing you need to go start doing is start reprioritizing your working life or your business life and placing your customers in terms of the way you use your time and energy ahead of your focus on your products and services. I think that's so if you get it, that's exactly what you need to go do. If, however, you're struggling with it, as Mark says, you want to call bullshit on it, you want to explore it further, there's two things that you can do. The first thing is, if you'd like to go and get your business on our podcast in front of 80,000 people and go and tell your story to a large audience, then there's a link below that will allow you to go and book time for a short podcast interview with Mark or myself in the next couple of months. You go choose your time and date, go do it. If, however, you want real advice and real guidance tailored to your business and tailored to you and what it is you wish to achieve, I make available 3 hours a week to speak with outdoor business owners free. So it's 1 hour of my time completely for free. The same link down there will take you to a web page, and on there you can go and access my schedule and go and pop some time in there for yourself. The time is on a first come, first served basis. So if you snoozers are losers, I guess. So go take action. So that's it from me. And of course, if you found any value at all in this episode, please subscribe to the YouTube channel or the podcast. Please go and share it, and please go and give us a big thumbs up, because that really helps us give more content like this, more advice and guidance for free to the outdoor industry on a consistent basis. So that's it from me. Any final closing thoughts from yourself, Mr. Hopkins?
Wake up, think about customers, go to sleep thinking about customers.